A first-round NHL draft pick in 1996 changed the course of Chris Phillips' life forever. The young stay-at-home defenseman quickly made a name for himself here in Ottawa, and the city definitely embraced him with open arms. It's also where he met his wife, Erin, and 20 years later, and recently retired from the game, Chris and Erin continue to make an impact here in the city, as well with their 3 kids, Ben and Zoe and Naomi. It is awesome to have them joining us here today. So, welcome to episode 5 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang. It is brought to you by Extension Marketing. If you're looking for more information, you can check out extensionmarketing.com. Chris, Erin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hello. We're kind of laughing because I said earlier, who would have thought we would be in this scenario? I never quite saw us sitting kind of side to side and face to face like this, because oftentimes I think it was 20-some years ago that I actually met interviewing you as a sports anchor. It's been a nice journey.
Yeah, it's, in some respects it seems like it was yesterday, and when you start talking and thinking about it, it was a long time ago. But yeah, it's funny how things happen, and being a professional hockey player, certainly didn't think that I would still be in the same place that I started 20 years ago, and here I am when I'm done, and certainly a lifer now, not going anywhere. Ottawa's home, and just an amazing place to call home, and couldn't have been luckier to be drafted by Ottawa, and that being the place that I end up calling home. Just so great to raise a family and live, and certainly very blessed in that way.
You also happened to meet a young woman at the time who really had Ottawa as home. I mean, you're from Manotick, but really I think you were, even as a young woman, the most well-connected girl in the city, having kind of experienced so many different aspects of this life. Was it nice to be able to be at home and then meet Chris and really be able to share that life, to be able to introduce him to Ottawa in a very different way than I think other players would have experienced this city?
Oh, of course. We look back at, we were talking actually about it yesterday, looking back at our career, who would have thought we would have still been here? Mm-hmm. And, we both feel like we're blessed. We thought we'd live in all these cities and experience everything, and there's parts of that are great, but I really think we're lucky to still be here and have the connections we have and be able to do the things we've done on the ice and off the ice in the charity world, and have our kids involved, and really it was quite the journey.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen very often when you look at the statistics of players who actually end up playing their entire career in one city. What makes it so unique, and why was your situation just so different that you had the ability to stay where most players kind of find themselves moving every couple of years?
Well, I'd like to say that it was just my choice to be here the entire time, but that's not the reality. I know there was times in my career that we went through and watched the trade deadline yesterday. If they would have had this if Trade Center spectacle back then, my name would have been on the trade bait for sure. I know it was talked about. And so the team also made a decision, not to move me each and every time that was a possibility. So it went both ways, and just lucky that it all worked out. Like you said, the percentages are pretty low, and why and how that happened, I think was a responsibility of everybody involved, not just us.
I think when the realization was that you guys were really truly here at the foundation here in the city, there were a lot of charities. There were a lot of people celebrating the fact that you were staying and that you would continue to be involved. How important was it, especially early on, when you're a young hockey wife and you're kind of getting involved, that you really establish yourself with a number of charities and put really your heart and soul behind them? It wasn't just by name, but it was really about being involved and being hands-on with some of the charities.
Well, I think we really got lucky with Roy Malacher was the president at the time, and he introduced us to a charity called Candlelighters. We got to meet so many amazing kids, and that sort of getting involved and being hands-on with those kids and seeing the difference that we could make in their lives was sort of a great intro. It made us really ponder what we wanted to be part of, what charities really mattered to us, and we dove right in.
For people who aren't familiar with candle lighters, because I remember even talking to you, it was about kind of, parents visiting their kids that are going through cancer treatments and having the ability to pay for parking or have the ability to have computers so that kids could continue with school. It was almost basic needs that meant so much to these families.
Yes, it was started by Jocelyn Lamont. Unfortunately, she lost a son to cancer. And so she's created a charity to sort of fill the gaps of where she felt the system sort of didn't help her out, or the voids where she could make a difference. So things like computers, parking, paying for medicine. At the time, we now have 100% coverage just as January, but back then we didn't. We bought fridges for people, mattresses, to, the list goes on and on. But
sibling programs for the brothers
support.
and sisters, really A to Z, minus the actual care with the hospital, everything that goes on behind the scenes. And it's an awesome organization.
You were involved with this organization early on, and then as you added your own children to the mix, did it change your perception of health and having healthy kids and realizing, how it can switch and how that can flip a switch overnight from being healthy to sick?
No doubt. You feel like it's a responsibility early on, just the position that we're in, playing in the NHL, being recognizable people in the city, to give back. Once you, as Erin said, once you get to actually meet the families and the kids, and then have kids of our own, to see how lucky we are that they're healthy. Knock on wood. So far, I mean, anything could happen, but just not taking it for granted. Seeing what can happen, and honestly getting the strength from those kids more than anything. Some of them are fighting for their lives, and they got huge smiles on their faces, and they're cheering everybody else up, and especially playing hockey for myself, and you can lose a game or lose a big game, and you think it's the end of the world, and then you go to a place like that and see these kids, and it really puts everything in perspective. So selfishly, it's helpful to see that and realize really what's important in our own lives.
Mm-hmm. And you were able to see that because oftentimes when he's on the road, he is playing those games and feeling that way, and yet you're at home kind of going, this is what happened, this is what we were able to do this week, or these are the visits we were able to do.
Yeah, and we were on Snowsuit Fund with you, and trying to get our kids involved. We made had our kids down at the Snowsuit Fund handing out snowsuits, and we brought their hockey teams down to do that. And so a big part of our charity world was letting our kids see what we were doing, what we were capable to do, but seeing other people's struggles. We're blessed in life, and we really wanted our kids to be part of that.
Okay, let's talk about kids, but let's talk about going back to your own kids. And you talk about struggles. It wasn't kind of rainbows and fairy tales and unicorns all the time. I mean, let's go back, Chris, to you growing up in Fort McMurray. What was growing up like? I mean, did you feel the pressure early on that you needed to make something as an athlete and make it to the NHL? Or what was the support like or the drive like for you as a kid?
The support was always there. It's kind of funny because I think other people would talk to my parent or see my parents and think that they pushed me a lot. I never felt that growing up. It was always a drive within to want to be better, to practice. It was always a dream to make it to the NHL. For a long time, it was a dream to play in the major leagues. At the same time,
you were doing hockey and baseball.
Yeah, I played both up until I was about 15, and in the summer months, I wanted to be a baseball player, not a hockey player. So I mean, life was great. I mean, I got to do those were the two loves of my life. I got to do them year round and go back and forth. I was lucky that I had that support from my parents, to make that commitment, the time commitment to get me there, the financial commitment, which wasn't easy to keep me in them. But all the time growing up was, have fun and work hard were the two biggest lessons.
I think parents take a lot of responsibility when you talk about the support that the parents need to offer in terms of getting you, driving you, being there, the financial aspect. People feel pressure, it's expensive to be able to do. Did you ever kind of feel that, like you knew the sacrifices that your parents were making to be able to give you this opportunity?
Yeah, I think in some ways, unfortunately, you're kind of blinded by that as a kid, and they shield that from you as a kid. I appreciate it more than anything now that we have our own kids, and seeing how much money it costs to do everything that growing up, and all my buddies were doing it, and there was nobody that I know of that couldn't do it because they couldn't afford to do it. So it was just everybody did it, and I guess he kind of took it for granted. Like they signed you up for hockey and you went and played and you went on these road trips, but at the same time we were doing bottle drives every weekend and different fundraisers, working in casinos and bingos. So that certainly we saw that offset, and maybe thinking that's where was paying for most of it. Who knows? Like you said, you're kind of blinded to that as a kid, but as an adult and parent now, it was a huge commitment.
You made the commitment to, I'm going to probably list maybe 8 to 10 different sports. I mean, Chris had baseball and hockey.
Same
Erin,
as their job.
She's a master of all trades, let me tell you. You, growing up, really embraced so many different sports. It was almost like you wanted to have a taste of everything. Is that part of your personality, or really you had that ability to try so many things?
I think it's part of my personality, as we said, maybe jobs as well. But I think my parents at a really young age, they were triathletes. We spent our weekends volunteering, handing out water. I think what I got from my parents was a love of outdoor sports. Our weekends were up in the Gatineaus, cross-country skiing, or if we were at our place at Tromla, we were on the ski hill, cross-country, snowshoeing, hiking. And in the summers, I was competing outdoors in swim meets. So I think my love was really outdoor sports, which I think living in Canada, it gives you a love for our climate. I changed a lot seasonally because I had to. So I think that's sort of what I got from my parents, is a love for nature and sports kind of put together.
Okay, you have 3 very active kids, and in a variety of different sports. So how did you want to implement your own experiences into raising your children to have the ability to love sport, participate in sport? Like what was your parenting kind of?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us was to introduce them to different things. Much like yourself, like. If with no introduction, who knows what they're gonna, fall in love with or want to continue with, and not in, the thinking of, how are you going to get to the Olympics, or how are you going to make it to the NHL, or, the kids were in gymnastics when they were young, and it was more about being active and healthy and, lifestyle more than a mission to try and get them somewhere, or because it was. I wasn't a gymnastics guy growing up. But,
it built the fundamentals, right?
But
exactly.
Just to, it was an area where we could get our kids out and coordination, all that kind of stuff. They were in karate for a little bit, and obviously, selfishly hoping that they would play hockey and play baseball, but. Not disappointed in the least if they didn't, and just found a love to get out and to meet friends and stay out of trouble and be active and healthy. That's, at the end of the day, that's our biggest goal.
You did mention they are in hockey.
Yes,
you've had Naomi, who was following figure skating for quite some time, and then changed the toe pick for the other blade, and has fallen in love with that sport as well. So it's interesting. You had them in all of these other sports that they were trying, and I know baseball and there was volleyball, but you have 3 right now that you're driving from rink to rink playing hockey.
Yes, we are.
You have fallen exactly. It's interesting, but what are they hoping, or what do you see in them when they're out on the ice?
Hockey's so funny, right? They're loving it, but they're all competitive kids. 2 of them are playing competitive hockey. One's Naomi's playing house league. But that doesn't change.
She's just playing house league. She just started. She swapped the figure skates.
I mean it in a competitive nature, right? So, as I was taught, and try and pass on, work hard to do your best and enjoy it and have fun. And you see them, if they lose a game, they come out and there's, it's not always smiles. They're not happy when they lose, and they are competitive kids, just by nature, that we've passed on to them or they've inherited.
By nature,
I'm not sure how that all works, but that's the reality of it, and it's fun to see how they deal with it, how they cope with it, and we've doing a lot of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, okay. But do you think that they feel a pressure knowing, where they come from? I mean, both of their parents are athletic, competitive individuals. Like, do you sense that they're trying to please? Do you sense that it's an inner drive? Like, you know them. Where is it? Where's the drive coming from?
Well, we're both like, well, at a young age, when I would go off to play hockey or soccer, the kids would be, "Oh, see you later, Mom. We're going to watch you on TV." So we really put no pressure. We didn't put a lot of emphasis. It was Dad's job. We pushed them to be active. We never. My 3 lines, and I'm pretty hands-on driving them to the rink, are try your hardest, listen to your coach, and have fun. Mm-hmm. We say nothing else. We're not preaching on the drive homes. We're pretty laid-back parents because, my parents, actually, I think both of our parents were pretty tough and had, expectations of us. But Chris always says if they want it, they need to want it themselves. Mm-hmm. And that sort of resonated in my head. It's absolutely true. So we're pretty chill on the parental front. I think Ben, we'd ask him once in a while, once he got older, how are you feeling, what's going on? And it was only about a year ago where he'd say, oh, some of the guys are saying stuff on the ice, but I think he has a pretty thick skin growing up in the world.
What do you mean they're saying things on the ice?
He'll get stuff like, you're only here because, your dad or you're not, just comparing him to me being an NHL player, guys giving him jabs here and there, but
that's a lot to take as a kid.
But he handles it well, and he's in hitting now, so he knows how to how to get him back, and he has a little bit of that edge, so that competitiveness that helps him out a little bit in that area.
I think it fuels him.
It does, it fuels him.
I think so.
Do you remember, what were the 3 things that you say to the kids when they get out of the car to go play?
Oh, we do it for every sport. Play your hardest, listen to your coach, and have fun. And they joke about it now. I'm like, what am I going to say? And they say it back to us, and it's just our family thing.
But it's nice that they know that that's what's coming, right? And that there isn't that pressure of what that end result is going to be. Do you have a moment or a favorite experience from a coach or a piece of advice or guidance that stuck with you, like a coach's speech or a coach's tip, advice that will resonate?
Should have given me the heads up on this question. But.
This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing. They are a new breed of marketing agency that acts as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective marketing strategies that will grow your business. I can speak to this personally, as I've been using the Extension Marketing team to help me launch and grow my business. Founder Pat Whalen has been a lifesaver for me, a genuine coach, guiding me along the way into uncharted territory. Tell them you're a friend of the show and receive a free 1-hour consultation. Check them out at extensionmarketing.com.
Probably the most memorable speech was Roger Nielsen's, during the 2003 playoffs, after Game 5. Sort of put, he was on his last days, and he really put everything in perspective. He laid it out on the table, and I'll never forget that one. So that's at the top of the list. I think some of the other coaches, it's not so much a moment in time, but just more of their overall attitude. And I look at my hockey, right from a young age, but as time went on and competitive and junior, the NHL, any time that our team really had success, we always had fun coming to the rink. Coaches, they made it fun, and I don't want to call them players coaches, and it was a country club. We worked hard. We had hard practices. We got in trouble. We got benched. We got all that stuff that you would typically not like a coach for, but they knew when it was time to be serious and be hard, and they knew when to have fun and make it fun even when you were doing things that you didn't want to do. It was still fun, and I think that's the hardest thing of being a coach and trying to hover that line of being a player's coach and a hard ass. But that's when we had our most success.
Are you trying to do that too? I mean, occasionally you'll step in and do some coaching with the kids. Would that be the message that you want to have when you're able to step out on the ice with them?
I would love to be able to coach like that. I'm helping coach Ben and Zoe, and in saying that, it's not easy. Again, you're in competitive hockey. You're trying to teach all these lessons, and more so I find like you're not yelling and screaming, but being hard on them, and and trying to bring that fun in. I guess that's where practice is. You try and make it fun, but when at that age when it's just teach, I find I guess more so with the boys, you're a little bit harder on them than with the girls. They're way better listeners. That's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, I was a hockey player. I wasn't a coach, and trying to learn all those tendencies and figure out personalities is a whole nother game.
Do you respect the art of being a good coach, having been on both sides?
Yeah,
then?
100%, yes.
Mm-hmm. When you're growing up being a professional athlete, and then you have these young children that come into play, and so you have the responsibility at home, Erin. You're feeding, you're nourishing, you're trying to take care of him as a professional athlete and raise these young children who are showing signs of being athletic and competitive. How did you then kind of organize your kitchen and what you wanted them to be consuming, especially with your background in nutrition and then becoming a nutritionist over the years? How did that play a factor in things?
Well, I wrote a cookbook, ended up being called The Ultimate Cookbook for Hockey Families. But the reason why I wrote that, and truly I called Corey Keeley, who wrote it with me, and I remember struggling in the kitchen. I remember thinking, how do I have food ready for Chris before a game, after a game? The kids are all coming home from different times of different sports, and how do I make this work? And myself as a nutritionist, if I was struggling, then I kind of felt every other family out there is too. So our whole background and basis of that book was how to have easy, healthy food that's ready on a flash. Whenever you needed it, it was in the kitchen, it was in the fridge, it was on a crock pot. And I found working with Corey, and she's such a great recipe writer, but I learned really how to use a crock pot. I used to be my nemesis. I'd see it in the kitchen and think, everyone loves these things, but it stresses me out. And learning how it's really not that hard. And I kind of overthought, I think, the whole process of it, but just having food ready.
So it wasn't just in preparing it for them and having it ready, but as to why. Is to explaining, and for the kids to understand at an early age why they needed this and why they weren't getting that.
Yes. You do see in rinks all the time parents trying to reward their kids' athleticism with a slushie after the game, and honest to God, that drives me crazy. I think their reward is able to play. They're blessed to be able to play these sports, and rewarding them with that is sort of contradictory to me as the whole foundation of being healthy. a big thing for us is having the kids involved. And the more we had them in the kitchen, the more they wanted to prepare healthy foods. And, now they fight. We're having a Caesar salad last night, and our two girls were fighting over who's making the dressing. It's not the pre-made stuff. They're making it from scratch, and they both don't need a recipe to make it. But just sort of hands-on in the kitchen, I think, really made a difference in our life with the kids and health.
And so they saw it, but they also saw what you were preparing, or what it was like to have Chris prior to, like, pre-game and post-game and the meals. Like, did you feel like you needed to take on that responsibility, or you just were like, well, listen, he'll go to the rink and they'll figure it out for him?
For Chris?
Yeah.
No, I definitely felt I needed to take on that responsibility. We started off, we ate at the same restaurant before and after every single game. I'm going to say what you ate to hope that's all right, but he'd have a steak, potatoes, Caesar salad, minestrone soup, and a cake before the game.
Before the game?
Then he'd go home and have a 2-hour, 3-hour nap and go and play. And, as a career, as your body changes, as the game changed, it got quicker and, getting a little bit older. We're still probably 30 at this age, but just changing that, we changed quickly to, kale and spinach and salmon, just lighter foods to be able to not have that heaviness.
Did you appreciate the knowledge of understanding why you needed to eventually switch from the steak, the potato, and the cake prior to? Because you had to feel it too. Your body was changing as you were aging, and it made a difference.
Yeah, there's a fine line between appreciating the knowledge and messing with superstition. So that's not a easy thing to break, but it actually was more the fettuccine with Alfredo sauce.
Oh yes, I forgot that.
Yeah, and honestly, you come in and that's what's like on the road. They have all the food laid out for you, and that's what's there, and that's what guys ate, and that's what you did.
Okay, can I just say though, that's what you ate 10, 15, 20 years ago. Do you think, is that still being served now? Because it just seems like there would be a different plate out for athletes.
No, there's
now,
still lots of pasta. More red sauce than cream sauce, but it's still there.
It is.
And guys still wear it off, but I really found my own energy was way higher when I got onto the rice and salmon and broccoli. That was my meal, and then salad after. And
that's quite different.
Boring as heck, but felt way better. And you can look directly at the naps. And when I first thought, oh, I'm tired, I need to nap for 2 hours, it was more because I was tired from the food, and once I changed my diet, then I was sleeping for a half hour, and felt way better.
Okay, I want to kind of go through that. Originally it was steak, potato, salad, a little pasta with fettuccine and some cake, and then a 2-hour nap.
Pasta and steak, or pasta and lots of pasta.
But then there was that 2-hour nap pre-game.
Yes.
Swap it out for the broccoli, the salmons, the healthy grains. Energy level went up, but the nap wasn't as long.
Correct.
Do you find that, you have Erin who's been able to study and understand and appreciate it, but you had to change that mindset. Yes, there was a superstition as to what you were consuming before a game, but do you find that it helped you? That had you not made certain changes, that your game might not have progressed and you would have stayed in as long as you did?
That's certainly one of the areas. I think there was multiple, but no question about it. Especially just as metabolism, all that kind of stuff changes as you get a little bit older. If I would have continued to do that, I probably would have ate myself out of the league.
We're grateful that you didn't. I want to come back to that cookbook, because it has been a staple for so many families, and it's not just the hockey family. It's the family that's on the go, snacks, pregame, meals, being on tournaments on the road. what has the response been from other families who were desperate for something like this? And sometimes we want to be able to provide the right things for our kids. We didn't have the know-how. Did you get great response for that?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about writing the book is our feedback was from children quite often. And we really wrote the book. I mean, I've been a nutritionist for 15 years now. And when I speak to parents, they say, yeah, but nothing really changes unless you're struggling with some allergies or certain things that you really need to make the change. I find that, you get stuck in your busy life and you just grab on the go or whatever. When you speak to kids and explain it to them, they will then say, Mom, I need this, or this is what I want in my lunch, or Dad, can you make us this, whatever. But when you talk to kids, that's when the change really happens. So we brought in 27 NHL guys, some Team Canada women, some hockey players, or some figure skaters, and got their favorite recipes. So that sort of got the draw to the kids, and then we spoke directly to them. There's taro oats at the back, which I found shockingly used a lot more than I thought of. Mom and Dad, this is the shake I want. Chris Phillips or Eric Carlson or whoever else we had and said this is what they have before their games. So now they're having shakes, and can you buy these? They circle what they want on it and buy these ingredients. So the power of using the players and speaking to the kids, I do think it was we were a national bestseller, but I think the change that really impressed me was the kids pushing it forward.
You're going to have a lot of parents listening to this, so could you come up, I'm going to put you on the spot too, could you come up with the top 5 things that if you could recommend to have on hand, or they're running in from school and they have a quick bite before they're heading out for practice, what are your go-tos? What are your favorites?
My favorite is a smoothie. It's an easy way to hide
what are you hiding in there?
I hide all kinds of stuff, but even the protein powders, not necessary. Once they get a little bit older and they need to put on the muscle, we'll add the protein powders, and with those you now can buy the fish oils integrated into it, the greens, all the vitamins. Those all can come now in the protein powder, so you don't even need to slide it all in. But I started off making them and adding them, and the kids would be oh no, and I'm like, no, this is what we put in it. So now they put it in themselves. We don't even talk about it. They just add everything that we put in. So protein shakes before, after games.
Power pucks
in my book.
Yeah.
Everyone loves
those little balls,
the
right?
No big energy ball kind of idea. One big thing that we do is we have salad stuff already kind of cut up and made in the fridge. They just have to throw it together. We have protein always ready, extras, like steaks or chicken or salmon in the fridge ready to go. So instead of them running into the pantry where, a lot of processed stuff might be, they run to the fridge and they can grab stuff ready to go and easy.
What would you not find in the house or not find with you? I mean, I know one of the things that, and I remember talking about it, I think on the show, was the Gatorades, were the
yes.
powered drinks. Those are a no-no.
Well, we're not big fans of that. I think, that's a power of marketing. A lot of kids see the boys on the bench all drinking Gatorade, but half the time they're filled with water or half Gatorade diluted down, and parents think they're doing what the pros do, giving them a Gatorade after, and the amount of sugar and salt and food coloring that are part of that. We actually have them in our book, How to Make Them Healthier, if that's what you want to do for your kid. Most of the time, people think that their kids are doing all of this exercise and probably losing all this weight. They hear, some guys lose 7 pounds in a game. Well, if you break down your junior kids hockey, they're maybe playing 10, 15 minutes on the ice. They're not working as hard as you think they are, or burning as many calories as you think they are. So it's not necessary. I mean, practices are probably working harder than in the games. So I think it's a mentality of, give them water. And we'd have a whole hydration and sleep thing in there. Make them sleep more. I think a lot of kids aren't sleeping enough.
I was always so jealous. You had those kids to bed. You were pretty strict on bedtime.
I was alone for a lot of years.
That was your sanity, right? I mean, Chris was on the road for a long time. It was getting those kids to bed so that you could finally kind of breathe for yourself.
Yes, and we were in hockey, which you weren't. Yeah. So we had 6 a.m. practices every Saturday and Sunday morning. So we'd have to get home early so that they could get up for 5:30 to be on the or be at the rink for 5:30. So it kind of helped with the bedtime as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention they're bears if they don't get any sleep. So.
But they can sleep. They can check out and be like, I'm heading to get that nap in or do anything. Yeah. It's great that you've been able to instill that in them. Chris, you're no longer on the ice and getting in these workouts and having to kind of put yourself through this. How is that adjustment? You're smiling at me. How is that adjustment?
Thought we weren't going to talk about that.
How has that adjustment been for you? You had, towards the end of the career, a lot of pretty tough injuries to kind of deal with. But do you find that your body is healing? Do you find, where are you at right now with that?
It's a work in progress.
Okay.
The biggest thing coming out of retirement is trying to tell myself that, I don't need to eat those pre-game meals anymore. I'm not playing anymore, so I don't need to, I have no idea what we never counted calories, but,
you don't need as
I'm not,
many.
Exactly. I'm not, exercising and playing and traveling like I used to be. That, it took a little while to, remember that I don't need to eat like I used to when I was playing, or can't, because, I wasn't burning it off, especially because of my back problems that I had that really slowed down those intense workouts, trying to get to the gym. But, honestly, it's not the same. And it's been a bit of a struggle to, just motivate myself to get to the gym now that it's not part of my job. Kind of, question, why do I have to go to the gym today? I'm not playing anymore. I don't have to do it. So to find that motivation, I obviously know it's, a healthier lifestyle and better for my back. And I have to, I'm slowly getting into that. The back's starting to come around a little bit, but, if I play a hockey game, alumni game, I'll feel it for a few days after.
Do you miss the feeling? Do you miss that kind of exhilarated sweat and finish after a good practice or a good game? Have you found that balance then? I guess not, between mind and body and where you feel best.
Yeah, I loved, working out and leaving it all out on the ice. Working out in the summertime, even there was a goal, right, to be the best hockey player that I could be. I think I miss the competition the most, going up against some of the best hockey players in the world. And, for my role, trying to shut them down, I embraced that challenge. I love that challenge. And, so not having that part in my life, that's probably the biggest adjustment, is not having that competition.
Have you noticed, is there a change? You're still active, and I think we've had these discussions, but you kind of need that physical outlet to be able to have everything else function. Has it been an adjustment for you in seeing what's happened with Chris?
You know what? I think he's playing down the pain of his back. To be honest, I think working out has been pretty frustrating for you because you can't do what he would like to be doing. Mm-hmm. So we're getting there, and you're starting to come around. But I think you have that same drive, and you'll want to do that once it's a little bit easier for you to do.
I want to, or you're telling me that?
Well, maybe it's a work in progress.
Are you trying to say, Erin, Chris, get your butt in gear? I'm used to being with a professional athlete.
Come on now. I didn't sign up for that. No, I'm just kidding. I do know that it's a bit more of a struggle than I think he wants to admit, and
do you I'm asking, I know for me, when I retired, I knew that I was never going to fly through the air the same way ever again, or have that feeling of being suspended in the air and flipping and landing. Have you gone through not necessarily the mourning process, but to understand that you will never feel that speed again, or that energy, or that 20,000 people kind of crowd? Do you kind of go through the sense and the feels of what it is that you won't experience again?
So not playing in front of 20,000 people is fine with me. I never saw myself as a entertainer. I didn't do things or play for them. They came to watch me and my team and or the other team and play the game, but I never saw it as I have to put on a show. I know it's an entertainment business, but for me it was again the game, the competition, trying to outsmart the other team and outperform them and do what you had to do to win the game. That's the biggest part for me that I miss. The limelight, all that. There's nothing about me that's missing that part of it, right? I don't need the attention, the cameras, all that stuff. I never fed off of that, so I'm fine there. Like you said, the biggest, maybe the hardest thing was me now going to play a pickup game or alumni game, and I'm sure other guys are like, this guy played in the NHL. This guy's terrible. And I know I'm not there. The speed's not there. A lot to do with my back, but part of that is the NHL is it's a fast, hard game.
It's a beast now.
And you have let alone being injured for a couple months, you feel like you're not there. But now I'm almost 3 years removed from not playing at that pace and practicing at that pace. People say, "Oh, we could really use you." No, if you saw me play, you really could not use me at all. But that's probably the hardest part, is realizing I'm not that guy anymore.
But you're great for the beer league. I mean, do you bring your own beer? I mean, let's go. I mean, Big Rig has been a nice passion. Has been a nice kind of way to step out and have another passion with your beer and your brewing and the hops, and like, how is that? Like, how has the energy shifted from being dedicated to one thing to now kind of looking at other things?
I can say that the teams that Ben and Zoe play love it way more when Chris goes on the road trips and tournaments away, because he brings a lot more beer than I do.
Yeah, Big Orange is my cooler has its own nickname now.
It does,
so
eh?
yeah, so the other parents are asking me if Big Orange is coming on the road trip. So
they prefer when Chris comes than you do. Yeah.
So they've enjoyed that part, and things fell into place, things have worked out, but having something there and already involved in once hockey was done, was really a blessing in disguise. It was not meant to, be a retirement project, but it's certainly, been sitting there, for when hockey was done, to be a little bit more involved and have a place to go, and it's been a lot of fun.
Do you think Big Rig is going to take off the way it did?
I think for me, I always worried. As a hockey wife, you worry from the day you start into that world about retirement. You worry about the depression. You worry about how they're going to, I don't know, it's just a constant worry as a hockey wife. You worry about trades and how you're going to handle your family and do it all by yourself. But the other main worry, and I think was a bigger worry, is retirement. You hear guys struggle with depression. You hear them feeling lost. You just hear so much stuff. So I will say that I kind of hoped and dreamed, and I think helped try to put Big Rig in there as a retirement plan. Also, we've been sort of flipping houses, and Chris has been doing the work. So we had things lined up and passions. I think one of the biggest things that helped you get over it is hockey was his job, where it wasn't his life, it wasn't his only passion. He has so many things that interest you, and so much. And
yeah, well, you could come home from the rink or come home from the game and go downstairs and build. I mean, I remember you building bars and cabinets. Like, I mean, there were other things that you engulfed yourself in, I think. And I think that's why you were also so well liked and so well moving from so many different groups of people, because you were able to fit in and talk and have passions and be up to date with so many other things outside of the rink.
Well, that certainly helped, and I think a big factor of that was
Erin's social
Yeah.
network.
Yeah, but just her, being in her hometown and, being with her, I was, sort of by default had all these people away from hockey that we met and became friends. A lot of guys don't have that. A lot of guys, they just have the team and that's all. And I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with that, but I certainly, enjoyed having, I guess, another life outside of the rink. And, I was never, a huge, I didn't read the papers. I didn't listen to the radio. I often didn't watch hockey on TV. I went and did everything I could to help the team win. But when I left the rink, I was, I'd come home and, that was what having kids was so great about too. After a bad game, they come home and be like, Dad changed my diaper. Like it was, what I mean? You forget about hockey in a hurry once you have kids, but just the network of people that we have outside the game has been, incredible for me.
It's been remarkable to see, and I think why you became so integral into the 20 years that you guys, were part of the organization and the team and life here in the city. And then you would probably come home and ask Erin what job it was that she was doing that day, because she's gone through a number of different ones. And then, of course, you had the nutrition, and I know that, anytime you go, can I tell this story? It's my favorite part.
I don't know what you're telling.
No, when when you have to fill out your occupation, on a form. When you're traveling.
Yeah, that was my job.
Yeah, your job was pretty interesting, but then you would start to put down Erin's job.
His job was putting mine down.
Yeah, I would fill them out for Erin.
Yes,
yeah.
And Erin's title would often be best-selling author.
There was author, nutritionist, now realtor.
So let's kind of go into this. It's almost like you were home and you had things on the side you took and you helped raise these 3 amazing kids, but now it's almost like your time kind of swapping it, right? So what are you up to now? I mean, what is it that kind of gets you motivated and out the door in the morning?
So I am working for Royal LePage as a realtor. I started a year and a half ago, and I grew up digging foundations in a backhoe, pulling wire, renovating everything, helping my dad out on all. He was a developer and electrician by trade. So my love for housing and construction and all that started at a young age. I think I always knew I would do this industry, but I needed to be able to work nights and weekends. So I guess the last year Chris was playing, I went back to school for real estate, and now I get to do what I love. I'm having a great time with it.
And she's out at nights, and she's out kind of making the deals and being able to have that opportunity, and you have maintained your relationship with the Senators. And so a lot of people aren't really aware. You're still very much involved with what's going on with the team.
Yeah, on the business side, not on the hockey side. My business card says Director of Community and Business Development. That translates into kind of being out an ambassador for the team and working with the Learn to Play program for introducing kids to hockey. It's a great program. I am, at a lot of rink openings and ribbon cuttings, and getting to meet, some of the sponsors and partners of the team, and mingling with them, and it's been fun. It's been great that I have a pass to get me to the rink, and I can still go in and have coffee with the guys, but just to feel a part of it as well.
It's been wonderful to have you guys here, and I know that there are so many other future projects and things that are underway. Erin, people can find you if they're going, okay, I like this girl. I'm going to kind of go, erinphillips.ca.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they can find you. I like the title, Director of Community and
Business Development.
Business Development. And any final thoughts in this? Just one piece of advice, if you could, for any young child out there looking to pursue their dreams, what would it be?
I would take the advice that I had growing up, but enjoy it. Just have fun. As a kid, there's so many pressures on succeeding, on being the best, on being the highest level, and I don't think you have to do that to get to the highest level or to achieve your goals or your dreams, you can play, house league hockey, you can play lower levels and still make the NHL. You don't have to be on the AAA. You don't have to worry about how many letters are on your jacket. Just enjoy the game. And as long as you're having fun, as you will get older, you will want to get better on your own merits because you enjoy it so much. So take the pressures out. I encourage parents to take pressure off kids and just let them have the best experience they can.
You're giving your nod of approval.
I agree. I think that's great. We do see a lot of parents pushing, and you even hear kids pushing back, and you think, oh gosh, just let them, this is their time, not yours. Mm-hmm. So let them enjoy it and sit back and be proud of the kid they are out there, giving it their all. We're pretty blessed to be able to watch our kids, well, really all day. We can pretty much find them at any school event today. Our daughter's playing volleyball, and we rushed out there before here to watch one of her games in the morning. But really just watching them love what they're doing and being active and healthy is our whole basis of
Be
parenting.
present.
Be present.
Be present. It's a good way of looking at it. And I know Chris would finish by saying, dream big.
Dream big.
Dream big.
Dream bigger.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys. It was great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.